Before we get back to our story about dinner at Le Relais Odéon, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the verbs we used in our first conversations with the maitre d' and the waiter. Let's start by reviewing the conjugation of the irregular verb avoir. Répétez après Julie.
Avoir. J'ai. Tu as. Il a. Elle a. Il a. Elle a. Nous avons. Vous avez. Ils, elles, ont. Ils ont. Elles ont. Here you need to remember what we said about les liaisons, because as you heard, we have a lot with that verb. Nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. So just observe and practice. Now, let's practice avoir by using the different forms in a few sentences. J'ai une voiture noire. J'ai une voiture noire. Mon grand-père a une belle piscine. Mon grand-père a une belle piscine. Avez-vous une table pour 4? Avez-vous une table pour 4? Nous avons 3 chambres à l'hôtel. Nous avons 3 chambres à l'hôtel. Quel âge as-tu? Quel âge as-tu?
A couple of new words in these sentences. Did you figure out that noir means black, and as you may have guessed, chambre means room? There's also on this screen a potentially confusing grammatical issue that we should discuss. Notice the difference between the A in the sentence Mon grand-père a une belle piscine and the A in the next to last sentence Trois chambres à l'hôtel. When there's an accent above the letter rising to the left, it is called an accent grave. Both A's are pronounced the same, but when the A has an accent grave, it means at or of, as in Nous avons 3 chambres à l'hôtel. We have 3 rooms at the hotel. When there is no accent grave, the A, of course, means has, as in Mon grand-père a une belle piscine. My grandfather has a beautiful pool. And did you notice that we used the singular il and elle conjugation a when we said Mon grand-père a une belle piscine? That's because il and elle are pronouns, meaning that they exist only to substitute for an actual noun like grand-père or a person's name. So we use the third person singular conjugation for both people's names as well as for the pronouns il and elle. We used 6 verbs in our first restaurant conversation: avoir, préférer, boire, désirer, prendre, and vouloir. These verb forms are called the infinitives of the verbs, just like the English equivalents behind them are infinitives. You can think of infinitives as being sort of like the formal name of the verb without it being conjugated. Now we're going to learn a way to use the infinitive without conjugation to create a future tense, as when Alexa said, "Eh bien, je vais prendre du thé glacé, s'il vous plaît." This is a way of creating the future tense by saying I am going to do something. Not now, but later, in the future. Remember that je vais means both I go and I am going. When you say je vais followed by the infinitive prendre, you are saying I am going to take. Prendre does not need conjugation because vais is the direct object of je and has already been conjugated. This works for all verbs. To talk about the future, you simply use je vais or nous allons, vous allez, or whatever, followed by the infinitive of the verb you want to use. Pretty easy, actually.
Okay, now let's have some fun. Look at these examples of sentences that we could construct using the future tense and see if you can figure out the translation. Répétez après moi. Je vais boire du thé. Je vais boire du thé. Il va prendre le métro. Il va prendre le métro. Nous allons aller à Notre-Dame. Nous allons aller à Notre-Dame. Je vais prendre un steak saignant. Je vais prendre un steak saignant. Tu vas avoir mal à la tête. Tu vas avoir mal à la tête. Papa va dormir. Papa va dormir. Vous allez voler vers Paris? Vous allez voler vers Paris? Nous allons marcher en ville. Nous allons marcher en ville. Just a little pronunciation tip here as we started to speak longer and to use real sentences. Maybe just notice that we try to make the language flow. you can try to think of a river when you speak French. It has to flow, okay? You should not speak like a robot. You have to speak without stopping. Je vais boire du thé. Okay? Just focus on this and practice that.
So did you figure out the translations? Here they are. The first 4 sentences you probably figured out because there was no new vocabulary. But the last 4 sentences each had a word or phrase that you have never seen before, but I'll bet that you had already figured out what some of them mean by the context. Mal means bad or pain. À la tête means of the head. Mal à la tête therefore means headache. Dormir is the French verb for to sleep. Remember the nursery song, Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, dormez-vous. Okay, that's it for the singing. Voler has 2 meanings. To fly, but also to steal. Maybe that's because thieves fly away after they have stolen, but in any case, when you look at your airline tickets, you will see vol, V-O-L, followed by a number. Vol, of course, means flight, so that's your flight number. And finally, marcher means to walk or march. I bet you guessed that one. This is what you students who are younger may say to your parents when you want to go out and walk around town. Usually we spice up our everyday conversation with little phrases that sort of communicate our mood to those around us. For instance, when Alexa said, "Eh bien, je vais prendre du thé glacé, s'il vous plaît," she was saying, well, I'm going to have some iced tea. When we start off a sentence by saying well, it usually means that we are feeling a bit mellow and relaxed, but maybe a little uncertain too. We also sometimes use other words and phrases in English that sort of help to set a mood and make our conversation more interesting. I don't know. Tonight, maybe I'll have a steak. Or perhaps I'll have some chicken. So here's a list of words and phrases that you might like to use to spice up your conversation. Répétez après Julie.
Eh bien, eh bien. Ce soir, ce soir. Peut-être, peut-être. Je ne sais pas. Je ne sais pas. Je crois que. Je crois que. C'est ça. C'est ça. Okay, now I am going to read the brief monologue at the bottom of your screen. Take a few seconds and try to translate the monologue in your head, and then I'll give you the English translation. Je ne sais pas. Ce soir, je crois que je vais prendre un steak. Oui, c'est ça. Un steak au poivre. So, here is the translation. I don't know. Tonight, I believe that I'm going to have a steak. Yes, that's it. A pepper steak. Here's a few more essential phrases that you will find to be very useful. You will absolutely use them every day. Comment? Comment? Comment dit-on? Comment dit-on? J'ai oublié. J'ai oublié. C'est bon. C'est bon. J'adore ça. J'adore ça. Je veux bien. Je veux bien.
Here's a sometimes delicate little issue that you will definitely face during your trip to France. What to do when the waiter wants to speak English. Waiters are absolute experts at identifying who's a tourist and where they're from. On top of that, your waiter will frequently overhear you conversing in English as he approaches your table. So you'll find it very common to have a waiter walk up to your table and immediately break into English, particularly in major cities like Paris. But you're taking this course because you want to speak French, right? This is important to you. So how do you get this conversation back to French? You need to have a little strategy in mind, much like a business negotiation. First of all, remember that he's probably speaking English because he genuinely wants to show you the courtesy of speaking your language. But he's also a realist. 90% of his English-speaking customers don't speak French. He assumes, usually correctly, that the only way he's going to be able to communicate with you is in English. Sometimes you can preempt the whole problem by beating him to the punch and saying, "Bonjour, monsieur," first. That gets the conversation started in French. But if you miss that opportunity, move on to step number 2. When he speaks to you in English, you can simply reply to him in French. If he finds that your French isn't bad, he'll likely switch. But sometimes waiters are in a hurry and a little impatient with slow speakers. If he decides his English is better than your French, he may just keep speaking English. In that case, you'll want to try to gently and courteously coax him into speaking French. So here's what you can then say to the waiter. Si ça ne vous dérange pas trop, nous préférons parler français. If it doesn't bother you too much, we prefer to speak French. Déranger is a regular ER verb that means to inconvenience, disturb, or derange. Derange is also an English word, of course, so that makes it easy to remember. And if you're an adult with kids, you can further kindly add, C'est important que les enfants apprennent à parler. It's important that the kids learn to speak. Blame it on the kids. That should make him feel guilty and put the final nail in the coffin of your waiter insisting on speaking English. So that you can say this confidently and with a flawless French accent, répétez après Julie.
Si ça ne vous dérange pas trop, si ça ne vous dérange pas trop, nous préférons parler français. Nous préférons parler français. Si ça ne vous dérange pas trop, nous préférons parler français. Si ça ne vous dérange pas trop, nous préférons parler français. C'est important que les enfants apprennent à parler. Apprennent à parler. C'est important que les enfants apprennent à parler. C'est important que les enfants apprennent à parler. And now for some more numbers, 11 to 20. 11, 11. 12, 12. 13, 13. 14, 14. 15, 15. 16, 16. 17, 17. 18, 18. 19, 19. 20, 20. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Notice how easy 17, 18, and 19 are. All three involve addition. 10 plus 7, 10 plus 8, and 10 plus 9.
Well, maybe you thought that because there was no stop sign in this lesson that you'd be able to get away without reading the text. Nope, sorry, not true. We didn't use a stop sign in lesson 5 because there was no conversation that we needed to translate. But you still have to read lesson 5 as soon as the video is over. Okay, now that we have a few additional language tools under our belt, but we're still all hungry, it's on to the rest of dinner at Le Relais Odéon in Lesson 6.